You know, when we hear about a massive security breach, we usually picture some lone hacker brute forcing their way in, right? One big weak spot, one giant failure. But what if I told you one of the biggest social media heists in history wasn't like that at all? It was more like a perfect storm, where three tiny, seemingly unrelated bugs created a tidal wave of chaos.
And just how big was that chaos? Well, get a load of this number, 50 million. That's not a typo. 50 million user accounts were completely exposed in the Facebook security incident back in September 2018. Think about that. 50 million people had their digital front doors just blown right off the hinges for attackers to walk through.
So the big question is, how in the world does something like this happen? We're talking about Facebook here. Well, like I said, it wasn't one single obvious mistake. It was this perfect digital storm, a totally bizarre, completely unforeseen interaction between three different software features that really should have never even known the others existed.
Okay, so this is how the whole thing went down, and it's kind of wild. It all starts with something you've probably done yourself. Step 1. You use the View As feature to see what your profile looks like to someone else. Harmless, right? Well, this is where it gets weird. That simple click accidentally triggered a video uploader in the background, and that is where the fatal mistake happened. The uploader went and created a super powerful login key, but not for you. It created it for the person whose profile you were just looking at. A tiny slip-up that basically handed over a master key.
All right, so the bad guys figured this out, and they could now generate these keys for pretty much anyone they wanted. But what were they actually stealing? It wasn't your password. We spent all this time creating complex passwords, but they didn't need them. Nope, they were after something way more powerful. They were stealing the very keys to the kingdom.
And this is that key. It's called an access token. The easiest way to get your head around this is to think of it like a digital key fob for your car. It's the thing that lets you stay logged into an app so you don't have to type your password every single time. It's the app's way of saying, oh yeah, I know you, you're legit, come on in.
And this right here is why this was so absolutely terrifying. See, if someone steals your password, maybe your two-factor authentication saves you, right? You get that little text message code. But if they steal your access token, it's game over. There's no second chance. They just waltz right past all of your security. As far as the system is concerned, they are you. So you've got this huge flaw, attackers are exploiting it like crazy, and what started as a few lines of buggy code is now a full-blown crisis in the real world. Millions of people are at risk, and for Facebook, it was an all-hands-on-deck emergency to shut it all down. And the numbers here are just mind-boggling. On one hand, you have the 50 million accounts that were directly hit. Their digital keys were gone, stolen. But then, look at the emergency response. To stop the bleeding, Facebook had to force log out 90 million people. They basically had to change the locks for an entire digital city to make sure the bad guys couldn't get back in. And when we say full control, that is not an exaggeration. This wasn't just a peek inside. With that token, an attacker could do anything you could do. They could read every single one of your private messages, they could post stuff on your wall, and maybe the scariest part, they could get into any other app that you used your Facebook account to log into. It was a complete and total takeover of your digital life. Look, a breach of this size is a total disaster. There's no sugarcoating it. But it's also one of those really painful but really important learning moments. And not just for Facebook, but for pretty much any company building complex software. So what are the crucial takeaways?
Well, this whole event is basically a masterclass in 4 fundamental rules of security. First, the principle of least privilege. In plain English, that video uploader had no business being able to generate master keys in the first place. Second, secure coding. The part of your code that handles the digital locks and keys, yeah, that needs to be double and triple checked always. Third, independent audits. Sometimes you're just too close to the problem. Having fresh eyes come in to test your security can spot these weird interactions. And finally, continuous monitoring. The attackers were in there for 2 weeks before anyone noticed. Real-time monitoring could have caught it way sooner.
But you know, the biggest lesson here is this. It wasn't about some hacker smashing through a firewall. It was about discovering the strange, unexpected ways that different complex parts of a system can crash into each other. This whole thing is a huge reminder that even for the biggest tech giants on the planet, it's often the small, hidden cracks that can bring the whole wall tumbling down. And that kind of leaves us with one last pretty chilling thought, doesn't it? If a combination of 3 small bugs could compromise 50 million accounts on one of the most sophisticated platforms in the world,
It really makes you wonder what other perfect storms are just waiting to happen, hidden in the code or the apps that we all trust and use every single day.